Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about
comic books, costumes, facts,
Boots!
and other stuff.
In this week's issue, Kingdom Come Part 2.
Welcome into Bros, Foes, and Heroes. I'm Zach, joined as always by the mighty malignant one.
Mighty Malignant? Jeez, I gotta get checked.
Mr. Mike. Mike, how are you doing today?
Hey.
We are going to cover today, we're going to pick up where we left off in part 2 of Kingdom Come.
Kingdom Come 2.
Kingdom Come 2, yeah. Electric Boogaloo.
That's it. This time it's personal.
It's just the two. It just has more and more taglines, but it's the same movie.
It's just nothing but a movie full of taglines.
Yeah.
It's just taglines. Starts off with this guy going, "I'm too old for this shit," and then it ends with, "We're going to need a bigger boat," and it's over.
That's it. That's all it is. It's just filled with just different tropes and things that are overdone in movies. But no,
there's a virgin trying to get laid. There's a ski mountain in trouble. I mean, it's just
But they have to have a fundraiser, like a giant dance to save that ski. Before.
Well, and a car wash.
Yes.
Yeah. They tried the car wash. It went horribly wrong because there's this guy over there that makes all these mouth sounds, like the guy from Police Academy, and
he's in Spaceballs too. Remember? He's our radar's been jammed guy.
He's in Spaceballs.
Is it? Wait, no, is it?
Yeah.
I mean, he's in Spaceballs, but now I might be confusing the two bits. He might not be the one that he's not the one that is jammed. He's the one that does the beeps, and they also have the other guy later that's like it's been jammed and it has
the guy from the Rick Moranis with the giant Vader helmet. He's just holding a giant boombox over his head, trying to get the stormtroopers to listen to him. It's all in there,
we're gonna get Rick
it's
Moranis back into acting. Granted, I think he was in something here recently, but I don't remember what.
Was he in one of the Ghostbusters?
I don't think so.
Because there's now 2 of them with the old ass Ghostbusters in them.
Yeah. Oh, with America's sweetheart Ernie Hudson.
Well, yeah, sure.
Why'd you say yeah, sure like that?
Well, he's the 4th Ghostbuster. He's the guy you like the most.
He's number 1 in my heart. He's my favorite
number 1
Ghostbuster.
from coast to coast. He's the Ghostbuster you like the most.
Is that those lyrics or something?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought you were.
All I know is busted makes me feel good. All right, sorry. Kingdom Come 2.
Kingdom Come 2. Do you remember part 1 for the most part? You remember where we are?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I remember that bastard
that
Shazam showing up.
Well, we don't really know too much about what.
Anybody that works with freaking Lex Luthor, you're not doing great.
That's true.
That's like saying, boy, if we could just knock Russia out. Hey, Kim Jong-un, you want to work together?
Well, we're about to get the thing that I loved is the way we paused it was the perfect kind of because you bring up Shazam. But who else is working with Lex Luthor before we left?
Yeah, a lot of guys.
Batman, Green Arrow, they all decided, hey, we got to stand up against this new Justice League.
For some reason, I feel worse about Batman working with him than I do Shazam because ultimately Shazam's just a kid.
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of grown up.
Well, you understand what I'm saying, but he's a child that has been fooled by these old guys, basically.
Anyway.
Because that was always my fall down with Shazam. I'm like, no matter what happens, he's still Tom Hanks as a little kid and big.
Exactly. Well, that's there is just an interesting thing about Shazam that's not related to this. There is I think it's I can't remember the book. I've read about it. I haven't read it, but I know the story exists, which I thought it's kind of cool. But no, it's like a Superman versus Shazam type comic. Oh, really? And in there, Superman kind of goes to the old wizard who gave Billy his powers, and he's like, what is wrong with you for giving that to a kid? Yeah. Like Superman kind of straight up chastises that.
I don't blame him.
Which is a great point of you took him, he's just trying to do homework and now you've put the world's problems on him.
Give those powers to Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, but it's very interesting. You're right. Something that was brought up, and I'll just add a little tidbit.
That'd be a good story, by the way. Instead of Bruce Wayne turned into Batman, he sees the wizard after his parents are shot.
And he becomes Shazam.
He becomes
or Captain Marvel, but it's now
becomes
Shazam. Yeah.
Batzam.
Bat
Or whatever.
Zam.
Yeah, something like that.
I was reading
Shabat.
before I get into the rest of the story. I was reading a little bit through the sketchbook
Love
because
those, by the way.
because he
They're just
gives.
so good.
But Alex Ross has gone and given like paragraphs of detail next to
Yeah.
the sketchbooks of things that I thought were very interesting that I wanted to share just about what we covered last time.
Captain Marvel has 4 paragraphs, but Captain
Adam
Atom has
one
little small one.
They bring up a good point though, is he brought up that Captain Marvel and like the Marvel family and the whole Fawcett comics were he really loved as a kid.
Yeah.
And he always, and then he talked
They
about
had something there. I mean, super early.
Well, he also talks about then that the mid 70s, like he thought that Shazam was so big because of all like the like merchandising and stuff that DC did. Like to him,
Yeah.
Shazam was a
Yeah.
big deal.
Should have been.
And so like he always wondered, he talks about in here of like why Shazam wasn't always a bigger deal because to him as a kid and the way they presented him, he has the powers on the level of Superman's.
Yeah.
So like why?
Maybe even more.
Yeah. And so that's why he said that my earliest concept was that of a showdown battle between the two of them. So like even when he's writing the ideas and pitching this to Mark Waid, he's like, this is going to be like Superman's equal for this.
Yeah.
Which was just kind of interesting to read.
While you were talking about that, I went on my phone and I was looking up Shazam history.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the time in which we live. Okay. You look up Shazam history.
It's the music
in
app.
Control Center on iPhone or iPad, touch and hold Shazam music recognition. Yeah. So that's
well, I don't know
nuts.
if we've talked about it a little bit. So Shazam used to be Captain Marvel.
Right.
Way back in the day, they had to change it because of a lawsuit with Marvel, and he became Shazam after that. But I think it was even before that. Like DC quit printing Captain Marvel because of that, or I can't remember what it was exactly. I'm sure that people in the comments will tell us, and that's totally fine. I appreciate that. I'm
God
just
almighty,
blanking right now.
He's been around since 1939.
Yeah, no, and so that's how Mr. Miracle, not Mr. Miracle Man, became a thing too, was because in the UK they reprinted Captain Marvel comics and then they ended up changing it their own, and Alan Moore went and wrote. There's a whole thing. But still, yeah, like he's been around forever with Fawcett.
Billy Batson has been around for 85 years, and I'm figuring this kid.
Wait.
Let's say the youngest he was 10, right?
Yeah.
So he'd be 95. now.
95.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that they kind of did is he doesn't age when he's in Shazam form.
Isn't that
was
convenient?
another thing at one. Well, that was another thing at one point in time, and it was the same thing with Miracle Man that Alan Moore kind of dove into of the psyche then of he was stuck as like that for a long time and still having the kid. Anyway, what was the other part I was going to bring up real quick that I found interesting? Oh, we were talking about. I brought up Shazam, and it
I
was
always thought Shazam's
also
costume
about
was
Magog.
kick-ass too. You know,
Oh, for sure. I like the
Yeah.
red with the
I just
lightning.
love it. Yeah,
And the way that Alex Ross
he
draws
just
him in
looks like a
this-
damn superhero. You know,
And the way Alex Ross draws him here too, it just you're right. He looks like a superhero.
he really does.
The one thing I wanted to
species human.
There you go. The one thing I wanted to
Thanks,
bring up
Wikipedia.
to you, since you kind of went down
Yeah.
a Magog path
Yeah.
last week, is I wanted to read you the
Oh, yeah.
paragraph
There
that
you
he
go.
has here by the sketchbook
Very
because
cool.
it makes a really cool kind of point about it. He goes, as I remember, Mark, talking about Mark Waid, the writer,
Yeah.
originally told me, make him look like everything we hate in the modern superhero design.
Oh.
He goes, Magog is a reference to a tribe in the book of Revelations
There
that
you
will
go.
war against God's people in the battle of Armageddon. His appearance is meant to invoke a sense of pagan idolatry with the golden arm and ram's horns reminiscent of the golden calf from biblical lore. There is also a sense of Egyptian style in his staff, which focuses his power, and the scar around his blind right eye in the symbol shape of the eye of Ra.
Oh.
As much as we wanted to hate him, we wound up really liking his design a great deal.
Very nice.
But so there you go. I just thought I'd add that little design bit in there then about that since we talked about it too. But yeah, so really cool to see kind of the, I guess, reasoning behind there of just like, hey, draw him like, I'm assuming, not necessarily pointing out, but Image was really big at the time, or even the new brand of DC and Marvel superheroes.
Sure.
Just like,
Yeah.
like draw it about all that stuff we're hating, because this is the story about like the superheroes. The new age doesn't feel the same, and I think that's kind of like what it's
Yeah.
selling in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
But let's go ahead.
Who's the Panther here?
So I can probably tell you.
Oh yeah, it's
That's
got
the thing, is they have everything so
There's so many of them.
they are. There's so many characters that he put in here.
God, I love that Superman thing though.
There's I could spend
You're
all,
good. You're good. Don't worry about it.
It will tell.
Don't worry about it. We'll
no,
find
no.
out.
Well,
Oh,
it
you're
doesn't
getting
tell it,
close.
but that's the thing, is on all these, there's so
Yeah.
many characters, and it comes
There's
with
a lot.
what is it? Not an appendix, an
Appendix,
appendum.
yeah. Appendix.
to tell you like who everybody is to
Addendum.
it. Yeah, to show you who everybody is. So they go through and like, if you want to know, you can find it.
This guy, I just don't.
That's
like
the
look
creeper
on his face.
That's the creeper,
That's
but
the
it's
creeper.
old. He's
Okay.
old, so that's why
Yeah.
I kind of. Anyway, let's go
He
ahead.
looks like a friend of mine. who
We'll
broke his
cover
neck in a
the
swimming
last
pool.
2 chapters, chapter 3 and 4 of Kingdom Come, starting here with chapter 3, Up in the Sky. And there's going to be one thing we're going to get to really early that I think you're
Yeah.
going to love a lot.
Yeah.
First of all,
God, look at that.
the picture of Shazam. The art in this book is
Oh,
so
the
good.
lightning, and he's in the clouds.
So
and
good.
it's so
I mean,
good.
they call him the Lord of Thunder throughout, and it's just
Yeah.
so like it's a great picture of it. But it talks about, and he cried with a loud vow.
God, is Shazam like the Antichrist?
Shazam is, well,
I mean, if you consider Superman as the savior here,
in this story, you'll see. You'll see.
Okay.
It's
All right.
the way they do it's so good.
I like it.
It is so good.
I like it so far.
And he goes, and when he cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices.
It's always 7.
Yep. And it shows. So here's something that we kind of talked about a little bit before. Is that the Spectre, who's our ghostly figure that's kind of taking Norman McKay, who is our antagonist, or not our protagonist, thank
yeah.
you, who's our main character that we're following here. He's taking him to all these different places. But these visions that we're seeing, I think the more I read, the more, at least for me, it's not necessarily that the Spectre's taking him there as much as Norman McKay is having these visions.
Right.
And since the Spectre's kind of tied to him, he takes him to these visions, and they're
Gotcha.
there together, but they're Norman's
Gotcha.
visions.
Yeah.
So Norman kind of sees that Shazam, like there's something coming up with Shazam, and the Spectre asks him like, are you having, these visions more? And he's like, they're coming just a lot often, just more and more quickly.
Yeah.
These dreams of Armageddon, like I just don't know what's going to happen. It all just kind of has this, many of these places I see are new and strange, but all of them are also kind of all too familiar. And we see then that he has them in Kansas, where it's just a wasteland, that they were building that prison to house all the people who didn't want to battle Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what the prison looks like, Mike.
Oh yeah, it looks like the
Legion of Doom.
Legion of Doom.
From
Yeah,
the
I was
Super
going to say
Friends
the
TV
Hall
show.
of something, but yeah. It definitely looks like the one from the Super
It
Friends.
has the Legion of Doom feel, which is kind of really cool too. And
Meanwhile, in the Legion of Doom.
up of rise up from the swamp there, yeah. But that's
yeah.
kind of what it has. That's what I thought when I saw that. So
Yeah,
I
because
kinda
it always
like that.
kind of looked like Black Mantis or something.
did.
The head.
So we get an inside view of the prison, and we have kind of like a
This is
dome
not a
over the-
well-secured place.
Well, that's don't like there's
I
a
know.
force
I'm just
field,
saying they're just flying everywhere,
are.
though. That's crazy.
but it does say that it's it's filled beyond capacity, but yet the walls still hold, thanks to in no small part the Gulag's architect and warden. Once the greatest escape artist of 3 worlds,
Oh.
scot-free is an unparalleled master of bonds and traps.
Why has he got a neck beard all of a sudden?
Because he's old. In his old age, he grew a neck beard and a ponytail.
Yeah.
But so
He looks like an IT guy now.
he kind of
That's
does.
what he looks like.
But he's essentially the warden of
Yeah,
this prison,
yeah,
making sure nobody escapes. Since his superpower is escaping, why not have him be the
Oh,
guy
it
to
makes
keep
sense.
everybody in?
Makes total sense. And then she's got to be like one of the.
She's one of the
guards, or
yeah,
main
exactly.
guard or something.
And so it talks about how they have like guards stationed everywhere, like throughout the prison, kind of always on alert for those, they got to stand vigilant over the belligerent or even the repentant. Like they're just there to kind of, keep order.
Sure.
And in the center of all this, a giant like hologram Superman is projected, and he starts speaking to all the like prisoners there. And he's like, it's really simple. In this world, there's right and there is wrong. And that distinction is not difficult to make. And while he's like doing this, the prisoners are like, sitting there yelling at him like,
Oh, I'm
yeah.
sure.
So where does robbing us of our freedom fall, oh great and powerful Oz, is what they're like
Yeah.
yelling out at
Yeah.
him. And, making some points and all this.
F you, Superman.
Exactly. And he's like, oh, please understand our intent, our intent. None of you are here as punishment. You're here as education. And he's like, well, then explain, like the prisoners are still like yelling out, like, what about the forced busing here, you stupid recording? How many different ways can you spew this Pollyanna crap? Like they're all just kind of like against all of them.
Sure.
And it just keeps going on. And the Superman hologram, thank you. It's like, the powers we have, the things we do, they're meant to inspire ordinary citizens, not to intimidate them, not to terrify them. And then, they're throwing out like day after day, like we have to listen to all this talk, like we're the bad guys. And one of them's like, I'm the one who bagged Eclipso, huh? And who toasted Ra's al Ghul. guys like us, like we're the ones who saved lives. Like they're not listening to Superman about that. And the thing just keeps, the projection just keeps going on and on because it's just a recording while you can tell that the inmates aren't having it. He's like, Superman says, we cannot act as judge and jury. We adhere to a moral code based on the preservation of life. And our 666 guy is like, easy for him to say. Did he ever have to fight the Slaughter Brigade? Man of Tomorrow, my ass. Try man of the 1950s.
Jeez.
Yeah, times changed, but he still expects everyone to live up to some cobwebbed code. He sticks us in here just because we don't kiss babies and salute the friggin' flag. I'm sick of this medieval thinking. His code is just as empty as his stupid hologram, and he throws it at him.
I'm not listening to a guy with 3 6s on his face and chest.
Well, his face and his tube.
Goofy.
Yeah. And about that time,
I do like this guy he looks like he has fire for hair.
We have a sorry you feel that way. As Captain Adam. No, it's not Captain Adam. I can't remember who it is. As one of the heroes kind of shows up and's like, no, you're here because you can't control your tempers. Like, there's a human crowd over there that you guys kind of forget about, and you have victims there. Or, Van Bach here, he points out one of the heroes there, would agree with you. We brought him in for killing opponents who had already surrendered. Like, you don't do stuff like that. Like, there's reasons you guys are in here. Y'all aren't perfect. Like, we have reasons that we keep you in here is what they're trying to tell.
This is reminiscent of the whole thing in Marvel, especially in the movies, where they were like, somebody's got to clean this crap up.
With Civil War?
You got to say, all that stuff.
It was. This just happened about
10.
Yeah,
it was a lot earlier. Yeah.
I don't remember. But as you can see, there's unease there in the prison that they've built to house everybody, and it seems like everything like it's steaming over, like it's hissing the pot. It's ready to kind of explode.
I like how this guy's just speaking in Japanese.
Well, I do love that too. Well, he's speaking in German, like they're all just speaking. In
that's
which
awesome.
Is cool.
Yeah.
And so we then zoom out from an eye, and it seems like they're watching back where Lex Luthor is there with Shazam.
Sure.
And he's like, excellent. And then we see that Spectre and Norman are now there around the league.
Who's the red guy?
I don't know.
Okay.
Right offhand. It's somebody that works with Luthor.
But he's like hovering this globe.
That they're kind of like watching to see what's going on at the prison. And then that's when they kind of find out, or Norman puts it together, and he's like, that guy by Luthor's side, you called him the Captain of Lightning. And he goes, Captain Marvel?
Captain Marvel.
And he goes, yes, his role in this war remains a mystery, is what he says. And as then we shift from that to another group of people you might know, look familiar, might not. I know some of them don't know a lot of like in depth about that. That's Highfather.
Okay.
So we know that Highfather from Mr. Miracle. That's like the Phantom Stranger. Don't know what he's from. That's the wizard from Shazam. Okay. That's the head of all the Green Lanterns.
Okay.
So this is like a meeting of the gods. Yeah, but this is like a meeting of the gods. Like if you think of meeting at Mount Olympus, everybody looking down at humanity.
And they're all looking at the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all watching it, and they're kind of like, we really don't care about humanity. Like whatever happens, like
sure.
We just kind of watch it for our entertainment. And the Spectre brings up to them, he's like, I don't think that's necessarily true. Like you all come here and you want to do things. Like you, Green Lantern, kind of, would like to release all the Green Lantern Corps to do things. Or you would like to, you guys all want to do things, but the 5 of you keep each other in check, kind of. Like you pay attention because you do care. That's why. It's kind of what he brings up to him. And while Norman is watching all this happening, he kind of feels like maybe this conversation isn't for him. Like he's, being a part of it, but he's not there. And about that time, Deadman, who kind of comes in and talks to him.
Deadman's a thing now, right?
Deadman is
supposed to be in one of the new movies?
Potentially,
sure.
Or one of the new shows, yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. But Deadman shows up and talks to Norman. Remember, nobody's been able to see him.
Yeah.
And he's like, you can see me? And he goes, even though I got no eyes, pretty wild, huh? Because that's, Deadman's kind of like that.
Sure.
And he goes, name's Boston. I go, which is his human name. I go by Ghost, or I'm a ghost. Nice to meet you. And he's kind of telling him, Norman's trying to figure out, like, so this is your like realm here. And he's like, mine? Nah, I just kind of move around from ethereal planes to ethereal planes, but I just travel around. I kind of know the deal here, what's happening. Used to be with the circus. I was a daredevil trapeze artist. trapeze jockey. Now I'm an agent of higher power. Can you imagine?
Didn't he get killed in the as a trapeze artist?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
And he goes, wait.
As a lightning struck or something like that.
And then he goes, wait, who am I talking to? Of course you know about all this, Padre.
Yeah.
Like he points it out.
Yeah, sure.
And he's like, pastor. Like he corrects him, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
And no, frankly, I can't imagine any of this. Since seminary, I've been more like a philosopher than priest, is what he tells him. And he goes, in church, like I preached. He kind of tells him, like, I preached what I knew or what I thought was real. Like, I didn't know all of this, so this is all new to me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you'd have to think, well, nobody showed him all this, too.
Well, yeah, it's all theory until you're there.
Yeah. And so he just, he tells him, I've never believed in the old world notion of assigning a physical face, that force or its agents. But now, and he then tells him, he's like, tell me, like, the specter guy that I'm with here, is he truly an angel? And Dead Man tells him, like, of course. He's like, don't get me wrong. Like, he used to be a normal Joe, like a cop, like one of us. But now, from the moment he got tapped by Big G, I just kind of love the way he talks.
Yeah.
He's been an avenging spirit and he's been an avenging spirit. He started to lose touch with his human side, kind of like explaining that's why he has to, latch on to people.
Sure.
And he goes, speak of the angel, good talking to you. Because the specter shows up kind of while Dead Man's talking to him. And he goes, all right, I got to get out of here. See you on the other side someday. Look me up. And he leaves. And Spectre just kind of walks by and takes Norman somewhere else. We don't know why.
Can they not be in the same place or something? Okay.
I think this is important for another reason that we're going to get to here in a second.
Okay.
At least for me, I thought this set up something else. So we then get to see Superman and Wonder Woman kind of sitting outside the Green Lantern, like, I don't know,
it's like they're on a park bench.
Yeah, but it's
in space.
It's the space castle. Well, I can't think of the name of it right now. That's the worst part is when I start going to these, I forget names. But where their base is, they kind of have taken refuge up in space.
Right.
The Justice League operates out of the Green Lantern Cathedral or whatever you want to. I can't think of the name of it. But so that's why it's emerald colored, and they're sitting there. And where's the story he's telling about? Superman tells a story to Wonder Woman about Brainiac. He says, and I said, you see that beautiful blue marble, Brainiac? That's my world. Return it now. And Wonder Woman's like, oh, did he? And Superman's actually, nah, not in airless space. No, but believe me, he got the message. Like, he's just kind of talking about, like, they're reminiscing, the two of them sitting there reminiscing about old things, of like old battles and stuff like that.
Right.
And
by the way, the Green Lantern thing is on a planet called Oa.
Oh, okay.
OA.
OA, yes, thank you.
Yeah. It's a citadel of the Guardians of the Universe and headquarters of the Green Lantern Corps.
Nice.
So there you go. I'm your facts checker for today.
There you go. Thank you.
Tip your waitress.
Wonder Woman does ask Superman if he destroyed Brainiac, and he says just short, buried some of his circuits on Saturn, some on Argo, and the rest inside of Pulitzer and Clark's apartment.
Oh, wow.
Which is just kind of funny to think.
Yeah.
It also goes back to old Superman keeping trophies.
Sure.
But while they're there, he brings up like, what's this about? Like you being ousted by your people kind of thing. And she says that for years, the Amazon ambassador to the outside world, like her mission was to spread a message of peace and order. And with the world kind of turning the way it is, they thought that she had failed that. Mm-hmm. There was some doubt as to how well I had done my job. My Amazon sister, my own mother, came to suggest that I had failed and that they put her on trial. She pleaded her case, but they decided that she did not change man's world and that it had changed her instead. So they had stripped her of her like royal heritage kind of there. So as they're sitting there, Wonder Woman goes, there may have been some justice to their decision. And Superman is like, do you believe that? He's like, no. Or she goes, no, the Amazons believe in peace through strength too often. I relied on an olive branch. So she's thinking she wasn't tough enough with people.
Sure.
That's why they ended up taking it from her.
Yeah.
And Superman brings up, though, this is what I love about this. Even in all of this, Superman still remains Superman. Mm-hmm. And I brought this in with Superman stories that don't suck because it includes everybody. This isn't fully a Superman story, but it's Superman even dealing with everything being the same Superman that you would want him to be.
It's very important, I would imagine, to this story.
Because he goes, I always admired your gentility. Like he brings up like, I should have been tougher. And he's like, well, I kind of always admired how you were able to not be.
Yeah.
And she goes, it didn't get the job done. And Clark's just trying, like they're both holding the lasso of truth there while they're talking.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, you did your best. And she goes, that's why, or then why isn't the world better? And he goes, they are digress. And she cuts him off. How many digresses, I'm sorry. He says there were, I cannot read today. There are degrees. And she goes, how many degrees were you interested in hearing about when you were tired? Like, she's kind of telling him, like, it's not really that better. Like, as much as you're trying to say, like, we think we're doing better.
Yeah.
You said it yourself once, Cal, like she keeps wanting to call him Clark and fix herself.
Right.
We're warriors and we have an obligation to wage combat. And he tells her, given who you were, Diana, given the power we possess, we have a greater obligation to keep the peace. So Wonder Woman is all about, we just need to kind of rule with an iron fist, and Superman sitting here telling her, no, we need to keep the peace in all of this. We flash back to Luthor. You wanted to know how somebody could work with somebody like Lex Luthor, why Mr. Marvel would be, or Captain Marvel would be. We see up above, like it's these images, it's being replayed on a screen, like on a projector, and it's superheroes just killing like normal human people, like just a bloodbath going on, causing so much destruction, just so much pain.
Is it during a fight with an evil person,
that's
or
the
are they
thing.
just flat ass killing people?
It's in the fight. Like it's probably in a fight with
so
somebody
during
else.
The fight. Yeah.
But it's just showing what the superheroes are doing. There's also that little bunny, the Shazam bunny that's in there, from Fawcett back in the day. Like it was just a nice little Easter egg.
Oh, I didn't realize it was a bunny.
Yeah. So Shazam is watching all of this happen, right? And we see he goes, those things, they never happened. And Lex kind of leans in and he goes, but they could have. And really, that's the point, isn't it? Superhumans can do anything they please. They can maim, they can kill. They've made the world a very ugly place. Fortunately, you don't have to take part in their world, do you? And you're just gonna, no, like he's scared. And he's like leaning in, and you see like Lex like by his ear, and he goes, that's right. You'll stay right where I order you to stay. And you see these little worms that he's kind of sticking in his ear. And he says,
God.
he goes, our old friend Savannah, that we talked about it earlier, that's his name.
Yeah.
Dr. Savannah.
Okay.
Your old friend Savannah saw to that, didn't he? Here, let me get that. Ingenious little bugger. Savannah was, do you suppose that when they coined the term mad scientist, they were thinking of him? I bet they were. Well, rest in peace, Savannah. Science marches on. And he starts singing, the worms crawl in, the worms crawl out, as it's sitting there like going into his ear.
Yeah.
And you can tell like it's like bringing Shazam into this, his mouth's agape as he's like, his eyes are rolling back. And he's trying to say Shazam and Kenton. And he goes, oh, no. There'll be no retreat. Not yet. Like he's trying to get away is what we're seeing here from Lex Luthor torturing him with these things essentially.
Yeah.
And he goes, I still have a very special job for you. And as we go into the distance, we see this little bat hanging upside down, and it looks to be some kind of spy device for Batman, who is watching what Lex Luthor's doing.
Oh, it does look like an actual bat.
So,
little red eyes.
And we can see that Bruce is watching on his wrist as Luthor comes out and goes, Batman, there you are. And he kind of tells Luthor, he goes, I think that you authorized triple shifts without telling me, Luthor. And he's like, oh, come on, Wayne. And, Batman, like, we got to do what we got to do. We got to get everything ready. We have to move our plan forward. Like, the time is kind of striking now. Soon we will be able to crush. Like, he's just telling him, like, we don't have time to wait. Like, that's why I did all this. We got to get ready to battle Superman.
Okay, hang on. Maybe I missed something. Why do they have a factory with triple shifts?
When they met in the end of the first one to... Remember, they were going to be partners now and working together.
I get that.
So they're making more Batman mech suits.
Okay.
Right, they're using their resources. I'm sorry,
yeah.
To like
build
more.
You're fine. I just couldn't remember what they were making in the warehouse.
So those Batman mech suits he has.
Makes sense.
And he tells him like ridding the world. Batman tells Luthor.
I'm sorry, but they're trying to deploy more of those robots that Batman had in Gotham.
Well, they're going to try to use those against the Justice League,
right?
Too,
I get you, but I'm saying they're duplicating those things.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
exactly.
all right, gotcha.
Batman tells Luthor, ridding the world of the League is a necessary evil. Mankind was never meant to bow before a Kryptonian and his ilk. And Luthor goes, my thoughts exactly, as they kind of lead there into the boardroom. And they kind of talk about the rest of their plan of what they're going to do. And Green Arrow says, sounds like a plan. Then again, so does this. Can't we just drop a K-bomb on Big O Blue? He calls him Big O Blue Spit Curl. Big O Blues Spit Curl.
Yeah.
Luther lets us know, like, yeah, just drop a kryptonite bomb. Boom, we got him there. Luther kind of lets him know, yeah, those were the good old days. Like kryptonite here on Earth with it under the sun, like it's not as effective as it used to be. Killed the half-life of it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And he goes, once war begins, Batman, can your players advance to the front lines if necessary? And he goes, we'll be in place, Luthor. Like everything will be ready. And we also join, like we have youth on our side too. The sons and daughters of a lot of the Leaguers have come to lend their support to us instead. And Luthor's like, all right, this is great. Aren't all young people are they prepared to strike when I give the signal? And like he's like, yep, I assume your tactical strategy somehow involves the Gulag. And they're kind of talking about, yeah, we're gonna attack all of this. Batman walks away and walks over to a man. And he puts his hand on this man's shoulder, and the man tells him, I know what you're thinking I do. And he goes, I'm aware of that, old friend. And you see like the hand go like to try to pick up a coffee cup, and it phases through it at first. It doesn't pick it up. But Batman tells him, but let's not do this telepathically. You won't stay focused. He's just talk to me.
Right.
And you can see like that's why he's not able to, like, because he picks up the cup, and he's just talking to this guy. And he goes, talk to me. Just relax. Talk to me. And Norman is kind of looking at him like, who's this guy Batman's talking to? And the Spectre tells him, in this form, in every man, someone who so desperately longed to understand the human psyche that he finally, in one terrible moment, opened his mind to the world. And what was forever shattered by its thought. He was once a Martian champion. And I love how the Spectre lifts up.
So it's Martian Manhunter.
It's Martian Manhunter. But I love in the scene, it looks like the Spectre lifts up to show Norman McKay that it's Martian Manhunter under there.
He like moves the veil kind of thing. Yeah.
So
that we didn't even know was there.
Yeah. So Martian Manhunter has always been one to try to understand humanity and be able to like I said, just understand it and get like what goes into it. So after Superman leaves, he decides I'm going to stretch out and just be one with humanity to understand it in just one fell swoop. And by doing so, it broke him. By him being like, oh, like realizing things are bad out there and everything, like just the spirit of humanity and how things were just kind of broke his psyche. And he's just kind of like a shell kind of a man. Like he can't use his powers. He's shaking. He's nervous.
Right.
And he's like, John, can you verify? And he goes, I will attempt. Like he's stuttering kind of too. And he's like, too much noise. Like whatever has happened has really kind of messed with him. He's like, shh, it's okay. Like Batman's got to calm him down. And he finally tells him, what now? I say, oh, do you think it'll help? He goes, John, you fought the good fight any longer than any of us. You've done all that you've ever asked. And today was no exception. He's like, thank you, old friend. But I don't need you anymore. He had basically brought him in to verify that was indeed, we'll find out later, but that was indeed Billy Batson and Captain Marvel that Luthor had. He thought it was. Yeah. But as we know for Batman doesn't like any loose ends. So that's why Martian Manhunter's there. And we'll come back to that in a second. I do love how they also draw that Captain Marvel is just like, he scares even the other humans. Like they're so unaware of him. Like he just walks in and like Black Canary has her crossbow and he's just like, may I? And they're all just kind of like stare at him, like give it to him. And he's just like, he's not doing anything mean or anything, but they're intimidated by him.
Well, he's gigantic.
And by his presence.
He's a big dude.
He is. And it's just interesting to see that all these heroes are scared of Shazam. Yeah. Even if they don't know, like whoever this, Luthor's plan is, they're kind of nervous of him. We go back out to Oa, where Superman's kind of looking out at the world. Yeah. And we hear like Germany's clear, Austria looks clear, and Italy, like, they're not marking off places. But then we see a group away from Superman talking, dropped a building on you. And it was like, yeah, put Power Woman and me both in body cast. Listen, if I'm you, I was all for the gulag. Like the other people are talking is like, but now like throwing Van Bach in them, like it's making it like a hydrogen balloon. Like we're creating our own problem here by doing all this, but they're doing it kind of like hushed away from Superman. Because we still see, so tell him. Me, Roy, no, you tell him. Like, look at him. I can't, he goes, can a man with telescopic vision see the world around him? And then you hear, she can hear us. Like, they're like, questioning Superman. And obviously,
he does have super hearing.
He does,
too,
but you can tell, obviously, he can hear them by
Yeah.
his look, but
Yeah.
he's just not acting like he can. But they're all questioning like his motives right now. Like he thought that, and rightfully so, because it does seem like it's a pressure cooker ready to
and
come.
I would imagine for Superman, you have to learn that skill of being able to just mute people.
Oh, for sure.
You can still hear it, but you're not listening.
Exactly.
Because otherwise you'd just be hearing everything all at once.
And then we get Norman coming in and goes, what happens next is for the first time my own fault. And he said, I've overheard Flash described as a man too fast to be contained by one plane of existence. Apparently, entire strata of reality are open to him. So settled am I in my role as a spirit that I have forgotten the fact. You see, I love this. You can see Flash notices something. It's just a corner panel over here.
Yeah.
But Flash feels like something's off. And he reaches through and he pulls Norman out into the public with all of them there. Like out of the spirit world into the real world with them. Because he can go between planes like that. And he just sits there and Power Girl grabs her and she's about to punch. She's like, who are you? Where did you come from? Answer me now, damn it. Where? Why are you here? And she goes to swing and Superman stops her.
Yeah.
And he goes,
it is a bad look to punch a preacher right in the face.
Well, it is. They don't know to be a preacher. Yeah. And he goes, well, like, answer the question still, but
sure.
And he goes, my name is Norman McKay, and I'm supposed to, this isn't going to make any, please understand, a catastrophe comes. I see armies raised against you. I warn you. And Superman goes, warn me? And it says, he glares with X-ray eyes, looking for meaning to my babble. As my mouth goes dry, I can find no words, save those I myself have heard before. And he starts quoting Revelations again. And he goes, and the third part of the trees were burnt up, and the green grass was burnt up, and the sun and the air were darkened. Fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment comes. And about that time, Superman's just kind of puzzled. And he goes, listen to me. I don't know who you are or where you come from, but your words are meaningless. Like Armageddon is hardly on our calendar. Like these are grim days for sure. Like you have to fully understand me. And about that time, Robin gets a holy God.
This is Red Robin.
It's Red Robin.
Yeah.
But off the camera, we still get kind of like a Burt Ward reference though. And about that time, he tells them, word just came in from the gulag. There's a riot going on. The prisoners have gone berserk.
Well, no kidding.
Exactly. So about that time, they turn and they look at Norman, like while everything's happening.
The hydrogen balloon comparison was very good because you're just waiting for that thing to blow up.
Exactly. And he goes, then here's what Superman's about to tell everybody what to do. Like, here's what we're going to do. And Wonder Woman goes, Flash, Green Lantern, Power Woman, to the gulag now. Take control. And then Superman's like, through peaceful means is what he's like trying to yell out. Yeah. And Wonder Woman is yelling over her, by whatever means necessary. Yeah. I want a status report as soon as possible. And she goes, Ray, be ready to follow if called. And Spectre goes, are you finished here? To Norman. And Norman goes, not yet. Like he wants to watch to see what's still happening. And about that time, Wonder Woman goes, where did the old man go who was here? Like, who was he? And Superman goes, I don't know. But why did you undermine my authority? To which she goes, why did I saw a crisis. I reacted in a confident and unqualified manner. The others
unqualified.
That's what it says.
Oh, wow.
In a confident and unqualified manner. Oh, yeah. I reacted in a confident. Yeah.
Okay.
The others need to see that sort of authority from someone. Like you're not doing it. I need to.
The issue is that, and I'm sure this is Superman's issue, is that you become as bad as them. You're just going to be them if you're just going to do it by any means necessary.
And she says, pull yourself together. We're overdue for a meeting with the UN.
Yeah.
And, they can't help but
the
know.
UN?
Yeah, they can't help but know about the gulag now. And he goes, then I guarantee they're wondering when we started making up our own laws. Let's go. Yeah. Like, that's what, Superman's kind of starting to get this, what have I done kind of thing. in 'em.
Sure.
Like it's the small little things.
Yeah.
They meet
Like
there.
making up laws and building prisons.
Exactly.
And putting superheroes
Is in them.
All those little things.
They meet with the UN, and the UN is there is like telling them like, we're flattered that the mighty Justice League has finally deemed the human race worthy of this conversation, kind of thing. And Wonder Woman was like, there's no need for sarcasm. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, forgive me. We simply are no longer accustomed to being advised or consulted. Imagine the surprise for an instant to learn that the center of the U.S. now holds a metahuman prison. And he goes, you insist that hard as this is to believe, it poses no prevailing danger to us either.
And that's who's saying that?
The UN is telling this to Superman.
So they're saying there's really no danger here, but it sucks.
Yeah, and he goes, so those are fully incarcerated or fully docile and eager to acclimate. Is that true, Superman? And Wonder Woman kind of looks at him like, you know what to tell him, but Superman thinks and goes, no, not entirely.
Yeah.
Like he's just honest. And he's like, it's a work in progress. We need to do more. The UN's not hearing all of this. They're like, no, inside a giant powder keg, or Superman, the confidence and hope your reemergence kind of engaged for us, it's eroded. Global economy is still a wreck. World trauma is still staggering. We will not risk another Kansas. I promise you that. So meaning that we must begin to decide some things for ourselves. You guys have a good day.
I'm really glad this didn't take place in Texas because it would be another Waco kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
But that's
yeah. No, I love the fact that they're bringing up the Kansas thing, though. We're not going to let it happen because that honestly, I mean, if that happens anywhere near what happened before, I mean, can you imagine? Like, there's just a hole in the center of the U.S., that just can't even be approached at a certain point. Because did Captain Atom blow up?
Captain Atom blew up. Yeah.
Okay. But there's got to be more like him.
I think. For sure.
Yeah.
So they leave, and Wonder Woman kind of tells them, like, stop looking so stunned. Like, what'd you expect from them?
Yeah.
He's like, they're scared, and their fears may soon, like, trump our solution, so we have to act now. Like, just get it together. We're going to have to be, the League will be forced to have to take a final decisive action. You just need to get ready for this.
I am glad to know that Shazam is being controlled by worms, and that makes sense.
It does make
because I can't imagine the guy just turning.
No. Well, it's not even that, but then like Luthor is like brainwash him to think that superhumans are the why we are here.
But it still doesn't explain why Batman threw in with him, other than he's basically anti-Superman.
So we get back to the League of our bad guys and some heroes.
Does it have a name?
It is. It's the Mankind Liberation Front, I think.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you
MLF.
said that last time.
And so he comes in, he's
That's
like...
a MILF you want to stay away from.
It is. Luthor comes in and is like, good news. The moment has come to begin our final strike. The gulag is in turmoil. Like, the inmates are, dare I say it, revolting. Like, everybody's getting excited. He's like, it's time for us to do this. And it's time for me to go ahead. Or he goes, where is it? Oh, but not before someone tips that scalding cauldron right into the Justice League. Someone I've been saving for just a task. And we find out that's why he has Captain Marvel there.
Yeah.
And like Marvel is confused. He's like, me? But all our talks. And he's like, it's all I've always said. The superhumans are evil. You can't argue with that. And he's like, but only you can ensure the destruction that I'm ordering. Like he's kind of talking it up to him. And Billy's still trying to talk himself out of it. He's like, no, and he's like, do it and worry no more about losing control. You won't. I've seen to that. Go ahead. And he puts a finger by his ear again there to like quote him. And he goes, tumble down the walls of Jericho. I insist. And about that time as he's there, Batman straight up cold cocks Billy Batson in the face.
Oof.
And he puts his foot on his throat as he's down there. And he just says, hello, Billy. And then like Mr. Marvel is struggling to move his foot because he's still in human form. And he's like, and that's what Green Lantern's like, he's not, you're kidding me. All this time we've been in mortal fear of Billy Batson? Like that's what Oliver's bringing up. And he goes, I'd suspect for a while, and John's telepathic probe confirmed that it seems that Marvel's dual identities are in quite a bit of a mental conflict here. All these years, as Batson grew to manhood, Luthor kept him in check by turning into a stew of schizophrenic psychosis. But our goals, and he goes, no, my goal in aligning with you, Batman says to Luthor, was to learn of your connection to Captain Marvel and the entire global conflict. He was the wild card, and I hate wild cards. And so that's when Luthor goes, you double-crossed me. And he goes, no, I learned from you. So the whole thing Batman was doing, he knew what Luthor was up to. He didn't know what Billy Batson was in all of this.
Yeah.
So him joining
Well,
in
he is
that,
the world's greatest detective.
yes,
So
exactly.
Yeah.
And so about that time, one of the people on his team goes, then may I assume that that's you giving the signal? And he goes, absolutely.
who is that guy?
Strike. I could look at. I can't remember. It's one of the kids of former heroes.
Okay. He looks like a Las Vegas magician.
But the costume's cooler. And then they all kind of attack and secure the bad guys, right? They kind of, capture them all there. And he sends Ted Kord after Lex Luthor, who's running away. And Batman is...
Ted Kord was a...
Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle, okay.
And so Batman is...
It was a 50-50 shot I had of Green Lantern / Blue Beetle.
Yeah. Billy gets away from Bruce, and Batman chases after him. He's like, Billy, stop. Like, you don't have to run anymore. I figured out what Luthor did to you. Captain Marvel retired early, didn't he, Billy? Of all of us, he had the hardest time adapting to the grim new world around him.
Oh, I would imagine.
One sad day, he spoke his magic word for the last time and vanished like a scared little boy. Then Luthor found you, took you under his wing, told you the same thing the world was telling you, that superheroes were monsters, terrible, repulsive beasts, and he never let you forget it, that you had one hiding deep down inside you. Don't think like that, Billy. He twisted your brain around that insanity. The worms, they're engineered to secrete chemicals. Billy or Marvel, either one, they eat away at your mind. They're driving you mad, Billy. Don't let this happen. The world depends on it. You can fight. And he's running away, scared from him. And he tells him, Billy, look out. And he crashes into a vial that is filled with these worms. Mm-hmm. And he's covered. Like, he sees them all on him. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, Billy freaks out. And by freaking out, he says his magic word, which is Shazam, which turns him into Captain Marvel.
Sure.
So freaking out, and he's just Shazam. And we just see a giant explosion and a hole in the wall, and he's gone.
Oh, wow.
And they realize, Batman, are you all right? And he's like, for the moment, like, did you guys get Luthor? They're like, yeah. And they're like, all right, let's go to the Batcave. We're going to have to find a way to deal with all this.
So Captain Marvel just blew up?
Yeah. Well, not like blew, like just like he blew a hole in the wall and escaped.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Wonder Woman's
I thought he just blew up, and I was like, what the hell happened?
Wonder Woman's getting ready for battle. She's putting on like these
on
metal
the gold
wings.
suit.
It's we've seen it in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's from this. And he's like, yet another side.
Oh, really? That's where that came from?
Yeah, this is
from
her Kingdom Come armor. Yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. That's much cooler than fighting the cheetah.
So Superman comes up and goes, yet another side of you I'm not comfortable with, like talking about her warrior kind of persona.
Yeah.
And she goes, get used to this one. And he goes, more Amazonian wisdom than that you're giving me? Like, just get used to it?
I don't think she's ever been threatening in that suit. He's afraid that it's more like military.
It's like, exactly. She's just becoming whatever. Like just militant.
Okay.
And he takes out her sword and it goes, and he goes, and it cuts him because it's a magical sword. Remember Superman? And he goes, are you expecting to use this? And she goes, I expect to be a soldier. And she kind of just sheaths it again. And he goes, I will not sanction lethal force against the riders. I'm uneasy of you with a blade, kind of is what he tells her. And she goes, not all of us have heat vision, and just kind of walks away from him. And the two of them get into a yelling match then. And he goes, there are lines we do not cross. We have rules. And she goes, and the prisoners don't? That's why they're prisoners. And if they don't remain prisoners, your big blue marble teeters on the brink. You've made the decision to incarcerate them for the good of mankind, remember? And he's like, and maybe that was a mistake. Maybe I should have let the humans decide to. And then we get an interruption about how they're in trouble, that the riot, the fight at the Gulag goes worse than expected. The prisoners have already begun to breach the walls. We can't hold them any longer. They've killed Captain Comet. That's who it was earlier. It was Captain Comet. And then about that, after hearing that, Wonder Woman slams her fist down into the table and just kind of breaks it. And Superman's just like, Comet gone, just like that. How could they? And she goes, so your world's finally turned completely topsy-turvy. How do we handle this? Is like what she's yelling at him. He's like, I don't know. She goes, then I do. And she just kind of tells all the troops, like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to confront them at the prison, and we're going to give them an ultimatum. They must surrender. And he goes, and if they refuse, she goes, it is war. Like, either they surrender, or we will kill them.
Right.
And he goes, but you can't. Well, you can't have a war without people dying. And she just kind of blankly looks at him, leans in, And I kind of like the way they describe this. She goes, her lips brush with his, the sound of marble scraping still.
Yeah.
It is a kiss. Sorry. It is a kiss completely devoid of passion. Like, she's just like, and then it says, it was a final farewell. So the whole thing is like, he's just like, you can't have people die with go to war. And she's like, F you, Clark. And just kind of leans in, just gives him a kiss, turns around and walks away.
Well, it's a goodbye kiss, basically. Yeah.
And
it's like, see
I
ya, buddy.
love the panel there of just him
Superman's
standing
all
alone.
Yeah.
So Superman, he's like, nope, I have to do something.
Gets pissed.
He is pissed. A hole right out of the Oa through the satellite, and he goes right into the Batcave. And he goes up to Batman. And he goes, I need your help. And Batman goes, we've been through this already.
Yeah.
And Superman tells him to shut up. He goes, shut up. I don't have time for you. You're holier than thou crap.
Shut up your bat mouth.
Exactly. And he goes, you're not above all this. Not now. Not when the stakes are like this. We're racing to the end of the world, Bruce. I have a half-second head start by all the stars in heaven. That's not nearly enough. And so Bruce tells him, like, the gulag's ready to blow. And he goes, yes. Even as we speak, Wonder Woman and the League, kind of stand outside the walls. And it kind of shows them there all gathering ready to battle. And Batman says, you mean to tell me that you never imagined it could come to this? Did you ever consider that a war might be the best for for humanity, maybe? Only chances for superhumans to swallow each other. And he kind of tells him, don't give me that. This is something we talked about, which is why I wanted to get into it.
I mean, I get where he's coming from as far as like them battling each other and taking somebody out or whatever, but it could literally destroy the planet at the same time.
And this is us talking. We talked about it the other day about this, and I love that it was brought up. He goes, the deliberate taking of human, even superhuman life goes against every belief I have and that you have. Yeah. Like he points out to him.
Yeah.
He goes, the one thing that we've always had in common is what made us who we are.
Yeah.
Which we kind of talked about a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so they kind of have like that.
Kill.
And he's like, more than anyone in this world, when you scratch, where's it? Oh, when you scratch everything else away from Batman, you're left with someone who doesn't want to see anyone die.
Yeah.
Which
true.
is why we talked about.
Yeah, it's kind of what he's built on.
And so they kind of have this heart to heart there. And he goes, we can still like intercept, like we can still do this. He goes, like, tell me you'll help. And he goes, I will tell you this one thing. There's a player you haven't counted on. Captain Marvel. Like he just tells him, like, Batson's there. Yeah. He goes, he's been brainwashed severely. There was a good kid inside there once, but he's been driven out, and I don't know how we'll ever find him again. And I did really like this. He goes, Marvel's headed to the gulag. Like he's telling him, like, Marvel's headed to the gulag. You like that's gonna be that's gonna be the guy you need to stop. And he turns back around, and Superman's gone. Yeah. And Batman goes, so that's what that feels like.
Yeah, because Batman's always the one with the mic drop and leaving when people are talking.
Exactly. And so then Superman is hurrying to get there as quick as he can. Man, he knows.
He is making some time.
He is. Now that he knows that, things are about to get, really bad.
Yeah.
And we get a giant strike of lightning and a kaboom at the top of the prison. And everything has now kind of broken out into pandemonium. Sure. I love that panel.
Oh, yeah.
And so Superman is flying, and as he's getting closer, we see the sky just filled with heroes on both sides. Yeah. And then all of a sudden,
the bad heroes.
This I don't know what, like whirl, whoosh, whatever you want to call it, just comes, the streak of lightning, our color just comes out of nowhere and hits Superman, and he falls to the ground and just slides in the dirt. Yeah. And then above him, with lightning in the background, is just Captain Marvel standing over him. Oh, it looks so good. Yeah. And in this, like,
care about that part.
But that's what it says. I love the Norman kind of overlay. And at worst of all, I see the desperate hopes of the one man who might yet stop it turn to ash and cinders by a single bolt of lightning. Armageddon has arrived. Oh, it's such a great panel though there. And that is where it ends.
Yeah, those
chapter
two fighting
3.
each other is scary as hell.
And it is going to be a big, massive battle to close out to close out the story here. And we'll go ahead and get into chapter 4 and close out Kingdom Come right after this on Bros, Foes, and Heroes. And welcome back to Bros, Foes, and Heroes, Kingdom Come Part 2, and we are about to dive into Chapter 4, the final chapter of our story, Never Ending Battle. And this one opens with another, again, I will praise Alex Ross's art all day long.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I have yet yet to have come across anything that he's done for comics that I did not absolutely love. Or in general, I just love Alex Ross's stuff.
This one's just like silhouettes, but it's got action in them, and you can tell that things are just happening. There's just so much.
Like I love
melee.
The front here. It's a silhouette of of Captain Marvel or Shazam and Superman, and you can tell, but it just looks so like epic.
Well, the only reason you can tell is because they're huge, and one of them has a red cape and one of them has a white cape, so you know exactly who it is.
The colors there, the silhouette, the green.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so great. It says, there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. This was my dream.
Oh.
No more. And then we get that I've used.
Yeah, that's a big one.
This picture right here, that is the cover art for this week's episode because I thought it was just so
excellent.
good.
Yeah, it's very, very good.
Old Man Superman and Captain Marvel just having a punch out with all this melee going on behind them. It's just a great.
That's like one of those pictures that you could look at for like an hour and still find
different
stuff.
things. Yeah. There's an odd, and maybe it's just me.
Hey, there's Waldo.
There's an odd kind of like Norman Rockwellian kind of.
No, you're right. You're right. I think we talked about that last time. Didn't they say something about the art being a cross between Norman Rockwell and something? It was something comic book related.
Yeah. Jack Kirby.
Kirby
and Norman Rockwell.
Yeah.
Which is actually very good.
Really what it feels like.
Because it has that Kirby grandiose, just larger than life feel, but also has that
what's that Norman Rockwell realism?
Yeah.
But it's kind of on the cover of a magazine. Exactly. That kind of
So Norman is watching all of this and he's like, it's happening. Norman.
There you go.
And he's like, it's happening just as the visions told me. Superman came too late. Do something he's like telling the Spectre, do something. Like he should have gotten here sooner. We're supposed to prevent this.
How hard do you think it is to make these guys glow on a comic book page?
Very hard.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just, you can tell that they're just glowing.
Yes.
And that's got to be so hard. There's got to be a fine line between glowing and smudging it all.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I mean,
but
it's
done
it's
so
gorgeous.
well.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And so Norman tells like,
especially the Spectre.
Oh, with the white glow from his face.
Because it's just part of his face coming out from under the hood.
Norman tells the Spectre, like, we got to make this stop. Like, this is Armageddon here.
Yeah.
And he tells him, I cannot. Like, I take no action, not yet. And he goes, why not? What in God's name has to happen? How much time has to pass? Like, he's just questioning him. And he goes, there will be a reckoning, Norman McKay. Be prepared. As the scriptures say, fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment has come. So he's telling him there will be a moment. It's just not yet.
Sure.
And we get this just massive battle still going back and forth between the two. And Superman just keeps telling him, like, come on, Marvel, snap. Like, damn it, Marvel, snap out of it. Like, you can't do this. Too much is happening too fast. Like, Superman's like, I'm trying to handle all of this, and I can't deal with you too.
Feels like Superman's getting bested here too.
He kind of is. And he goes, we have to work to get. And then before he can finish it, like, he just knocks him clear across the other side of Kansas, kind of. And he's like getting himself, and he's picking himself up, and he goes, now whatever wisdom he once possessed, Norman's talking about Captain Marvel here, making the captain a soldier of chaos, the one warrior who can counter Superman's every move and prevent him from containing the battle. Superman believes himself to be the only force on Earth powerful enough to end the superhuman war. He is wrong. So we know that Captain Marvel is his equal here.
Yeah.
So he is getting bested in this moment. We then go to the UN. Yep. We then go to the UN where they decide, you know what? We're going to have to do something as humans ourselves. They're not going to stick up for us. So I've been given permission to essentially launch, they call them multi-megaton nuclear explosives.
Oof.
3 of these rockets, they're going to drop 3 nukes on Kansas.
Nope.
They're going to send the 3 planes to do this. And that is how, since all the superhumans are there trying to deal with this is how we're going to, be able to save ourselves as the human race kind of thing.
Do they call these weapons anything, or are they just called that?
I think they were just called the multi-megaton nuclear explosives.
Okay. Multi-megaton nuclear explosives.
Tactical nukes is what they call them later then. But I think it's just,
I was just trying to reference those as far as like scripture and stuff. Like what would they be the equal to or whatever.
Let me see.
I don't think I think it's just me stretching.
Yeah, and they're telling them like this, like, come on, there has to be another way. Like, we're taking risk of this. Like, and he's like, well, yeah, there's going to be casualties, but we got to do something. Like, this is kind of this is our only hope. And we turn, and I kind of like this. And he's like trying to sell them all on it. And he salutes the soldier and goes, and it's like Godspeed is what he tells the soldier who's going to fly out. And he leaves the senator or head of whoever this is, and he goes to his office. and he sits down, and you can tell like he puts his fingers to the bridge of his nose, like he doesn't want to do this.
Sure.
Either.
Yeah.
It's kind of like and I love that there's
it's a hell of a decision.
There's a world's best dag mug, as it looks
yeah.
like he's contemplating everything, which is just kind of a cool little juxtaposition there of stuff
while
too.
the Spectre and Norman just kind of watch in their ethereal plane.
Yeah. We go back to the battle of everything that's going on, and like Norman's just watching everything. We see the biggest thing that happens is finally Batman and everybody else kind of show up then to help with the battle too. There's Blue Beetle, Black Canary the Third, different things like
Who'd
that.
You say this guy was the Creeper?
The Creeper.
Oh, okay. He's helping?
He's helping. He's a good guy. No, he's a good guy.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's just creepy looking.
Okay.
So Batman and his like Legion kind of add to the help, as well as like the mechs that they've
Batman
sent
has a
too.
badass suit in this thing too.
He does.
I mean, I know it's got to go over the mech suit and all that stuff, or the exoskeleton.
But it does look really cool. That is Zatanna. Do you know Zatanna the magician? It's a she.
I know of it.
That's supposed to be her son.
Okay.
So it's like Zatanna
Looks like
the
Doctor
second.
Who, but sure.
But this Van Bach character is about to like smash. I guess like this
Wait,
mech
what is that guy
arm.
called?
Van Bach.
Huh. Okay.
He's
All
German.
right. That's okay.
Oh
boy, look at that.
I just found that is our
That's like the
that is our
tree.
family tree of everybody.
Yeah.
See, there's so much in here.
Yeah. That's really cool.
I could have done a way deeper dive, but I want people to still find stuff there. Von Bach.
Von Bach. Yep. Oh, he's the one with the cross on his chest,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like a red cross.
It kind of is, but he has love and hate tattooed on each arm in German.
Yeah. He's ridiculous.
But this is the big moment here. Is he's about to smash Zatanna the second. We see a sword come through his chest, and it's Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Like Wonder Woman has straight up.
God, she's killing.
And Batman yells out, and he's like, Diana. And she goes, he left me no choice. They began this. I will finish it. Like she is just, yeah. And once they see that, the other villains are like, get her. Like if she's killed, like get her. Right. So they all go after Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman ain't taking no shit.
And about that time, it's Batman and Wonder Woman are fighting back to back, like while they're doing, but they're having a conversation while they're doing this. And she goes, and we will finish it without you, Bruce. Your people are out of their leagues. And he's like, why? Because we're here to save lives rather than take them. Like he's like questioning her in this. And she's telling him like, how dare you condemn me? You, what does she call it? You aristocratic bastard. It's a great line in there.
That is good.
But the two of them,
because he kind of is.
He is. The two of them like get
well, technically, I guess he is. He's an aristocrat, and he is an actual
That's
bastard.
True. That's true. So she's dead on.
Well, no, I don't guess he's a bastard. He's an orphan.
Yeah. But she like the
Those
two of them.
They're not the same.
They're not.
And I apologize.
The two of them get into like fisticuffs. And she takes him up into the sky. Like she flies him up there as they're like fighting. Yeah. And she goes, I will not be judged by you. Like of all people, by you. And you're like, do you hear me? Do you understand? After all these years, you have the nerve to swagger out of your cave and expect everyone to bow before your precious wisdom. Well, it's too late for that, Bruce.
He is kind of the redheaded stepchild to all the people there, all the metahumans.
They are
superheroes.
We tried to hold order, but it's gone. It's too far gone. And where our only option now is war. Our only option is, and she's like not looking away, but you can see Batman's jaw kind of drop a bit. As he sees the three planes, and she turns around to see what's going on. Yeah. And they both realize kind of like a, oh no type moment.
Yeah.
So the war between Captain Marvel and Superman is still going on. And Superman is still trying to tell him like, Marvel, in the name of heaven, wipe that empty smile off your face. Come on. We were friends once. You got to remember that. Yeah. Like Superman is still just trying to get through to him. And
have they worked together very much?
I'm like throughout. I'm sure
in the past.
Yeah, I'm sure they have at some point.
Well,
in time.
I'm just asking if they're in like major stories where they work together.
I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know a lot about Shazam. I'm going to be honest with you.
I don't ever remember seeing them working together, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. Yeah. Because there's a lot of stuff in comics that happened that I didn't know.
But he's just Shazam, and with a giant boom, it just sends like Superman away. And he says Shazam again to strike him with another thing of lightning.
But he says it much smaller this time.
Yeah. But every time he says Shazam, Batman, Superman is struck by lightning.
Yeah.
And he's like clutching his head. Superman is while it's all going on. And the battle's still raging, and it strikes him, and he's like, ah, and he's just like, Shazam. He just keeps striking him with lightning.
What a power.
Yeah. Batman and Wonder Woman decide, all right, we have to do something with these planes. And so they're able to take care of two of them. Like they clip one of the wings and Batman shoots down another one. But
are these unmanned?
No, I think there might be. I don't know. They might be unmanned.
They must be.
I would think that they're
because
unmanned.
Otherwise you're killing people.
Yeah, I think they're unmanned for this. But
they look like those unmanned drone type planes.
But then he goes, I hear the whisper of a pilot begging. No, it says of a pilot.
Oh wow.
Begging forgiveness, and then it's just the bomb drops. So they get two, but one of them still falls right over the gulag.
Yeah.
And that's where Norman's like, no.
Yeah.
So as we see here, I kind of love this. Over the sound of distant thunder, because there's another one. And Superman's just like, enough to him.
Well, he's got blood.
He's got blood coming out of his ears, out of his nose. Like he's the way they do
he's pushed to his.
And the grin on
max.
Shazam's face is just pure evil
yeah.
almost. And you can see even his eye, like his eyes are bloody.
Mm-hmm.
And he's sitting there and he just goes, Shazam again, and strikes him with lightning. And he gets hit again. But when it comes back, because every time he says Shazam, he switches from human to Shazam form in a bolt of lightning. So he's switching back and forth, and that bolt of lightning is just hitting Superman.
So I understand this panel now.
Yeah. So about that time, that's where he goes, enough, and just puts a hand over his mouth to where he can't talk again. And it says, and for one frozen instant, the storm clears. Fingers that can fuse coal into diamond crawl across human bone. And in the hush, ears that can hear a cell divide pick out with chilling ease the scream of human rage. It's a great line. Oh, it's so well. But you can see even bleeding, and he looks up in the sky, and he notices the warhead that's falling.
Mm-hmm.
And then Spectre says, it's time. And Norman goes, what?
I love how Spectre has those little tiny skulls in his eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, and he goes, judgment has come, Norman McKay. The hour tolls. Our entire journey has brought us to this moment. And he goes, but the bomb. And he goes, will determine the fate of the world. If it drops, the superhumans will surely die, but humanity will be spared their violence. If not, they will live on, fight a battle that will in time swallow the earth. In either case, we face the evil of genocide, and my task is to punish those responsible for evil. But who shall be held accountable? Whose sin is this? Humans or superhumans? Tell me, Norman. Judge. And that's who's like, me? You want me to judge? And he goes, yours is the soul that guides me. And he's like, well, how can I? Like, there is no evil here. All that's here is tragedy and bedlam. And the Spectre just cuts him off and goes, judge carefully. Yeah. And so we see, like, he's looking at things. He goes,
very Christmas.
It is. He goes, I don't know what to do. You can see that, can't you? Like, every choice I've made so far has brought us here, and it's been wrong. And it says, Superman's palm spasms around Batson's jaw, and Batson whimpers. The clock is racing. Only moments remain before the blast. And then you see Superman talk, and he goes, so listen to me, Billy. Listen harder than you've ever listened before. Look around us. Look at what everything here has kind of come to. Yeah, there's a bomb falling.
Fighting.
Yep, there's a bomb falling. Either it kills us or we run rampant across the globe. This is Superman.
You think that would kill Superman?
Yeah.
Nuclear warhead?
Remember it in Dark Knight Returns, it made him super weak.
That's true.
I mean, you could probably.
That's true.
And he goes, or we run rampant across the globe. I can still stop the bomb, Bill. That much I'm sure of. What I don't know is whether I should be allowed to. And it says, superhumans or mankind, one will pay the ultimate price. And he goes, like, he's holding Billy Batson there still. And he goes, and that decision is not for me to make. I'm not a god. I'm not a man. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He says, and that decision, Norman says, is not for me to make. I'm not a god. And Superman says,
yeah,
and I'm not a man. So you have the two kind of split there.
Sure.
And he goes, but you are, Billy. You're both. And he goes, so more than anyone who's ever existed, you know what it's like to live in both worlds. So only you can kind of weigh their worth equally. He goes, so fight that brainwashing, Billy. And you can let me, fight that brainwashing, Billy. You can let me go. Or with a word, you can stop me. Do you understand the choice? He's telling him, he's like, I'm going to go save this. I'm going to save us. all here.
Yeah.
Now, you can either choose to let me go and save us because, like, us as superhumans are worth saving,
Right.
or you can just hold me here and keep me from going and saving it because you know that what's best for humanity is us all dying here. And it says, his tears answer for him. And it says, then decide. And he just lets go and he goes, decide the world. And Superman just takes off, flying towards.
And Batson's just standing there like dumbfounded.
He's just standing there dumbfounded, trying to figure out what to do. And then we get
He says it's so small.
So small.
Shazam.
Yeah. And about that time, he shoots, like the lightning kind of goes off in this big moment. 7 thunders utter their voices. And Superman looks down to where are we at? Oh,
yeah,
Superman looks down to see what happens, and he grabs Superman's leg and he just pulls him and tosses him behind him. And Captain Marvel shoots up past him, like you can see Superman fall there.
Yeah,
and Captain Marvel takes off to take the bomb himself and moves it up to where it's away from the prison there.
Right,
and he Shazams again, really loud.
Shazam, Shazam, Shazam. Yeah.
As all the other metahumans kind of watch what's going on. And so what happens is...
So he's going to sacrifice himself for everyone. Wow.
And so he thought it was going to be Superman.
Yeah.
So we get the giant like radiation cloud and it's just smoke everywhere. I love that picture of Superman too.
Yeah, he's on his knees with his hands up to the heavens and he's like crying into the sky. Like anybody you've ever seen... you know what that reminds me of is like Apocalypse Now.
Yes, it's very much like that.
Yeah,
and that's the thing is, Spectre points over at Superman and just goes judgment.
Yeah,
and that's where he's like and we see an even bigger of just bodies. Like he got it away, but it was still enough to do damage. And there's just so many skeletons of metahumans there, and just covered in white and soot and ash, and just Superman.
Yeah,
just
it's like
still
nuclear winter now, right? Yeah.
And then
who's the giant rib cage there?
I have no clue.
Yeah, it's
but
huge.
Superman kind of picks himself up, and he's
got the red eyes.
Livid.
Yeah.
I mean, livid is the best way.
But didn't he do what he was supposed to do? I mean, isn't that basically what he was asking Shazam to do? Okay.
But now he's upset at the fact that
he's just upset at the fact that it happened.
They felt the need to send a nuclear missile.
Yeah.
For all of this.
I get it.
And so and he goes, where? He's asking, like, where is he going? And Spectre goes, almost certainly to confront his human attackers. He feels completely alone. He need not. There were survivors. Like he points out, like there were some survivors over there. Like they're fewer in number and their pain is great, but their war is over. And he goes, judgment has been passed. I am no longer needed. Farewell, Norman McKay. And Norman's like, farewell? Yeah. Farewell. And he's like, no, you think you brought me all this way just to watch people die? He's like, think again. He's like, you want to confront evil? Then get us the hell to the UN now. You saw Superman. You saw the anger in his eyes that could twist steel. He goes, if what happens next happens, the only way it can, and you let it, that is evil. So we then go to the UN and we see a God in heaven run. He's gone berserk. And sure enough, Superman is in there just breaking apart the UN. Yeah. Like he's snapping some of the pillars as it's just crumbling there. And sure enough.
And they're saying he's welded the doors shut and all that. Yeah.
Like he's trapping him in. This is an unhinged. This is Homelander Superman.
It's like Foxconn.
You wanted Homelander Superman? This is Homelander Superman. This isn't Justice Superman.
Yeah.
This is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is pissed off Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean, like truly, truly pissed off.
And so Spectre does take Norman there and he's like, you know what he's doing? He's bringing the roof down. Like he'll kill them all. Somebody's got to do something. And then Spectre tells him after 10 years, he has finally let free a wrath that could cower Satan himself. He goes, how can any man possibly calm the fury he feels towards his persecutioners?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that anybody's calming him down.
And Norman says, I can reach behind it. Do you really think he's mad at them? He's raging at himself. Let me talk to him now. Like he kind of tells the Spectre, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And you just see Clark and a question mark off to the side. And he goes, Clark, don't. He tells him, like, you blame yourself for Captain Marvel. You blame yourself for Magog, for Kansas, for 10 years, for all of that. But like, that's done today. Yes, you're angry, but in that anger, you know, like once more forgetting, once more what being human feels like and like how they're all out here fearing you now.
Yeah.
Like that's what he's telling them. He's like, they won't forgive you for this, Clark. And he kind of just like pauses for a minute and his hands kind of slowly just kind of come off of the pillars. And
you can see him realize what is going
there's,
on.
There's a lot of pain.
He was just blind rage. And you see him finally coming back to himself, you know, as Norman's kind of talking him down. No pun intended.
And he goes, who are you? Like, why are you here? And he goes, to bear witness. Listen to me, Clark. Of all the things you can do, all of your powers, the greatest has been your instinctive knowledge of right and wrong. He tells him it was a gift to your own humanity. You never had to question your choices. In any situation, any crisis, you knew what to do. By the minute you made the super more important the man, or by the minute you made the super more important than the man, that's the day that you decided to turn your back on mankind. Mankind. That completely cost you your instinct. That took away your judgment. And he goes, take it back. So as Superman kind of turns to look, we see that the other heroes have kind of arrived there at the Justice League. And he goes, and if you want redemption, Clark, it lies in the very next decision you make. Make it as a man and make it right. So Superman kind of flies down a bit to the rest of them and finds out that with his dying breath, like Captain Marvel managed to detonate the bomb high above ground zero. Thanks to that and the combined powers of Green Lantern and the others, like there were survivors. And they tell them that there's enough to leave us with the same problem there was before, but that the same impasse, the same dangers, the same distrust, the same everything is what Batman tells them. Like, there's still enough of us that there could still be problems there.
Oh, sure.
And so Wonder Woman says, what now? And so Superman kind of thinks a bit, and he goes, now we put things right. He's like, years ago, I let those I swore to protect drive me away. We all did. And that was the day all of this began. And you see the senator from earlier say, we saw you as gods. And he tells them that, like, we saw ourselves as we saw ourselves, and we were both wrong.
Yeah.
And he tells them, but I no longer care about the mistakes of yesterday. I care about coping with tomorrow together. And so, like, they kind of all come together. The problems we face still exist. We're not going to solve them for you, but we're going to solve them with you. Like, Superman's kind of telling them, like, hey, we're going to get back on where we were with this path. Like, we're going to do things together. Like, we're no longer going to impose our power on humanity. Instead, we're going to earn your trust. Like, we're going to do this how we should have. And then one of the survivors, he says, using the wisdom one man left as his legacy, and the survivor one of the survivors hands him Captain Marvel's cape.
Oh,
which
that's
is funny.
What that is. That's what I was trying to make out.
Which is funny because it kind of goes back to our Action Comic 775 where Manchester Black says, what is it about these thong and underwear types that when you defeat them, there's always still a piece left around?
Yeah.
So you get Captain Marvel's cape here. And Superman basically says, like, I asked him to choose between humans and superhumans, but he knew all alone. But he alone knew that was a false division and made the only choice that ever truly matters. He chose life. Yeah. And it zooms out, and they have his cape flying as like one of their flags at the UN.
Yeah.
So they kind of all sit there. Yeah. And now we kind of get where is everything left now? So we zoom out as like Norman and the Spirit kind of walk away. Now it's time to take care
of Luthor.
Yep. Yeah. So we see that the Batcave has kind of been.
That's one guy you should kill.
Luthor?
You should take Luthor out.
Well, there did Joker.
Him and the Joker. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But Batman's kind of rebuilt Wayne Manor and the Batcave, and they're using it as like a hospital ward to kind of fix up some of the metahumans that were hurt, but also they use it as like a place to patrol those that they need to still.
Well, you can also tell that it's a new day because everything's all white and bright and all that stuff.
Batman's even switched to white. He has a white and red logo. All of his stuff. It's no longer black. He's white.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And so we find out though, like they have these collars around them.
Yeah.
But they're essentially like keeping like Luther and them here still. Like,
Sure.
yeah, we're keeping an eye on you to make sure you guys don't try to exacerbate things more.
What's a movie where the kids blow their heads off? They wear those collars. It's a Korean.
I was thinking Suicide Squad.
No, shit, I can't remember the name.
I don't know.
Somebody will know it.
Batman and Dick Grayson kind of have a nice little handshake moment of the show them there in the.
Who's that in the back?
Starfire's daughter.
Okay.
And then we see that Diana gets her
she gets her
her royalty
back or whatever.
And I love that there's like all the other people are there to watch, and one of them's like, whatever, and like spits, and one of the new breed of hero like kind of smacks him, and he's like, come on, man, like show some respect.
Yeah. Which
is to show kind of like the new breed being like getting in line kind of in a way with this. We then see that
and unfortunately this is probably the only way they could have gotten them in line with them.
Yeah.
Is a real catastrophe.
Yeah. We see the UN, and there's a new board seat on the UN for New OA, who is ran by Hal Jordan. So Hal, they have representation just like everybody else, but it's through like the correct channels there too. Like they're trying to work all together one. And then we go to Kansas.
Look at all the
and graves. It says only one works alone, and Superman is making a memorial for everybody by himself out in Kansas.
Is he burying them all?
It says quite a memorial, and he goes, as it should be. It doesn't go into that. Yeah. And he goes, not just for those claimed by the bomb.
I'm going to kind of assume that he is.
Yeah, he goes, not just for those claimed by the bomb, but for all those who lost their lives to our mistakes.
Well, it looks like the thing in
Arlington?
Where is it? Yeah, Arlington. Yeah. Arlington Cemetery. That's what it looks like.
And she's like, let's let them rest in peace, Cal. Thought they'll only haunt you like if you forget that they taught you, or if you forget what they taught you. And she goes, speaking of which. And she goes, I have a little gift, something to help you see more clearly. And he opens it up and he smiles and he pulls out some spectacles and he kind of puts it on. Yeah. And it's a nice little like old man Superman. Yeah. And the two of them.
Well, it's an old man Clark.
Old man Clark.
Yeah.
And the two of them kind of have another little kiss that could be another like goodbye kiss in a way. We don't know. Yeah. And she just tells him, take care, Clark. And he goes, take care, Diana. She flies away, and he's back to using this giant thing to like plow the earth as he's trying to get Kansas back to, doing something.
Sure.
We see like the Spectre and Norman McKay there watching all this happen, and he sits there and goes, all the sins have been exposed, Spectre. Tell me, in the end, who do you punish? Who was responsible for what happened? And Spectre says, no one need suffer any further. For the tragedies we have witnessed, Norman McKay, do not mock me, is what he tells him essentially. And he's like, I'm just merely wondering, you were when you first appeared before me, you said you needed a human soul to be your anchor. And yet you yourself were once an ordinary man. So tell me, what has your perspective been on this? And he goes, excellent question. Be well, Norman McKay. You have watched the Titans walk the earth, and you have kept stride. Perhaps you are more like them than you realize. And in a flash, it says, you exist to give hope. And he's back in his church.
Yeah.
And then it goes to him giving a sermon again, and now his congregation's full.
Yeah.
And it shows him like he's sitting there and he's preaching from Revelations, but you see somebody sitting in the congregation is Spectre.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah.
Like Spectre is there in human form, like watching Norman McKay. And even though he ends still with a grace be with you all. Amen. Like it's a more kind of cheerful Norman, even with what he's doing. And then we close out our story and we get a 1 year later to close out everything.
Okay.
And in the 1 year later, we're taken back to Planet Krypton. This is kind of an after credit scene, right? Yeah. So let's say we roll credits.
Yeah, sure.
Everything's good.
Yeah.
After credit scene here. And they're introduced by Superman there into Planet Krypton. And greetings, citizens.
Oh, we're at the restaurant.
Yeah, the Planet Krypton. Sorry.
Gotcha.
And
I was like, how is that planet
Clark's
still around?
kind of looking at him weird, and Diana or Wonder Woman just goes, be nice, Clark.
Well, he's got long ass hair too.
Yeah.
The guy playing Superman.
So they go and they sit down and they're like, it's the upbringing. It's in the upbringing I'm accustomed to, Wonder Woman says, to see mortals pay tributes to us. It's not a church, Clark. It's a restaurant. Just relax. Like, Clark's just kind of weirded out by all of this, like...
Well, he should be.
Yeah, superhero, or Superman and superhero stuff going around.
I would imagine that's the same way that Sylvester Stallone feels when he goes in Planet Hollywood.
Exactly.
You know?
But he goes, so where is he? And Wonder Woman goes, you're the one with X-ray vision. Did you look behind the giant penny? Like, making a joke to Clark. Because they're there to meet, we find out, they're there to meet Batman. There is something in this that bothered me a lot about Batman, and we're about to get into it. He sits down to order a meal, like they all go to order, and when...
Does it say what they order?
Yes, it does. And that's
what
what it is.
Oh, that's what bothers you?
That's what bothers me. Oh, part of it, there is a cool bit where they're sitting there talking about, like, you think that people might notice, like, all these famous people sitting here.
Yeah.
Because he's like, you don't have to worry about that. And about that time, somebody turns over and taps Batman and goes, excuse me, are you? And he goes, yes. And the next panel, it goes, using that ketchup, we've run out. And he goes, oh, yeah, no, my problem, my guess.
Yeah.
It's the fact that nobody...
Well, the last thing you're going to think is the real ones are in here.
Yeah, but it's
like going to Disneyland and, you know, you seeing Mickey Mouse and then thinking a rat's real.
Exactly.
Or whatever, you know.
All of their glasses, like there's Shazam on a glass.
I have that glass.
Batman's coffee comes
Yeah,
in a
it's a
Green Lantern mug. Like,
yeah.
So it goes, Robin's there to take their order.
But
and
like old school 60s Robin.
It does. And it goes, hi, I'm Robin. And Bruce goes, of course you are. And he's like, what are we ordering today?
And I love how Superman's just like in a plaid shirt now. He's just like the dude working in Kansas kind of thing.
He's just not even.
He's like a farmhand
he's
at this point.
He's Smallville. He is full on Smallville
very
now.
much. Yeah.
And Bruce asks, well, what do you recommend? And Robin Waid says, well, the special today is Power Girl chicken salad. Or chicken sandwich. Sorry, chicken sandwich. And Bruce goes, the cut? And Robin goes, breast. I also recommend the dial H for hoagie. And
what is that from?
Dial H for hero.
Oh. Okay.
And Wonder Woman goes, I'll just have the giant turtle soup. And
giant turtle soup. Okay.
And the woman looks down the waiter looks down to Superman and goes, and for you, sir? And he goes, do you have anything like beef? What is it? Beef bourguignon? Beef bourguignon?
Bourguignon.
There you go. And the waiter goes, the Starro the casserole. And he's like, yeah, I'll take that.
Oh.
And then Batman goes, steak. Well done.
Ugh. Gross, Batman. Get out of there.
To which the waiter replies, which? There's the man of beef. And Batman goes, steak. Well done.
Ugh.
So yeah, he's
well
a steak.
done.
He's a steak well done.
Blech.
Exactly. So while
he's a ketchup boy.
Yeah. So while they're sitting there waiting for their food, they're talking more about just like, what's going on in Kansas, everything about that. I'm kind of skirting over everything because there's a big reason why.
This is a little bit light.
Yeah,
too.
it is.
Just,
and so
it's like the shawarma thing at the end of the Avengers. Yeah.
And so they bring out the food, and Batman, as he goes, that's not well done. And the waiter just walks away, and he's like, not even a shade over medium, miss. All right. And he just kind of like sets it back down. And she goes, don't tell me that's it. We've just come here to like compare. We could have compared resumes by phone.
Sure.
Like if we just came here to solely
all could have been
catch up. Yeah. And Wonder Woman goes, not exactly. We have something to announce. And Bruce is just cutting a steak, and he goes, yeah, you're pregnant. And both of them just kind of stare at him shocked, as he's just not even like, he stops and he just keeps eating. And she goes, how did you? And he goes, observation. For an ageless Amazon with a perfect physique, you've put on a pound or two. That was my first clue. It's Batman being Batman.
That's a dick.
He is. And she goes, there were others. My best to you both. Congratulations on bringing another spit curled demigod into the world. Sorry if I stepped on your denouncement, princess. And she goes, always the detective. Now let's try your escape artist skills. I want a commitment from you. I'd like you to be the child's godfather. Oh. And Superman's just like, what?
Yeah.
And he goes, me? I don't know what to say. And she goes, well, then the day's full of surprises. And he goes, news to you, I'll take it. Like to Clark. And he's like, yeah, that wasn't, or he goes, what isn't when it comes to her? Kind of like, I don't know anything.
I would imagine, yeah.
But the two of them, like, they kind of decide, like, yeah, okay, fine. This is what we'll do. Like, we'll have this moment. And Diana says, like, he's going to need, like, our child's going to need somebody to hang out with to teach them things that Clark and I can't. Like, we can only teach so much. Like, we're superheroes. Like, we need somebody in the human world. Exactly.
Yeah.
And what better than to spend time, like, with you for you to teach him what we can't.
I get that.
Yeah. And so
it does seem like a well-rounded group for a child.
Exactly. And it says, though, then let's talk about what we're all most afraid of. Look at the lesson we just learned right now. The scales of the world power are balanced, but it's still too easy to tip. Our child, more than any other, will need the leavening influence of a mortal man. A moral man. It says mortal, but then he says a moral man who we can count on.
Yeah.
And he goes, you're right about my trust. It's the center of my world. And I don't know if that makes me an expert on it, but I know I can trust you. And he goes, and so like the two of them kind of have like this moment where they stare at each other and they have a nice little bonding kind of hug there. We get a Superman Batman hug.
You don't get that very often.
And then as they sit there and they're leaving, they're like, all right, it's settled then. And Batman goes, you realize you've just handed me influence over the most powerful child in the world. And Superman goes, I thought you agreed rather quickly. Like, just thinking about it. And he goes, all right, well, have you given any thoughts to a name? Like Bruce is a good name. And like he's trying to put his own name. And then we see spinach and cottage cheese. That's a Spectre plate. And it's Spectre and Norman McKay eating together.
Eating at the restaurant.
And he goes, look at it this way. It's flattering to be remembered somehow. And then as he's walking by, the two of them turn and look. And they're like, is that the old dude? Like they just like the side glance.
Yeah.
And our Bruce does. And Clark says, Bruce, still with us? And he's like, yeah, sorry, still wondering, and kind of snaps back to it. And then they walk out and they go, the child of Superman and Wonder Woman and Batman. Imagine what kind of kid he'll. And Wonder Woman stops and goes, she'll be.
Oh.
And it goes, a battler for truth, justice, and a new American way. I can hardly wait to see it for myself. Let's go home and dream about the future. And that's where it closes out.
That's
and
super
that
cool.
is Kingdom Come, which is one of my favorite comic stories I've read now. That was really good.
I think it is, honestly. It's the most ambitious we've ever read. I know that.
I mean, it is so good. It is just to think, though, 1996, that thing's almost 30 years old.
Yeah, no.
And it is still so good and so poignant even now.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
The art's great, but so there you go. Kingdom Come, I had to think what we're doing for a second. Kingdom Come Part 2, and that will essentially close out then our
Superman
stories that don't suck. And I think that I definitely ended on one that did not.
No, you ended on one that was probably the best one I've heard. This is, with the exception of, if we're talking Superman, this is it. If we're talking Batman, it's always Dark Knight. So
but
this is kind of equivalent.
It does a good job of still showing you what Superman should be, even with everything else.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that, I think that's the thing. I brought up Homelander for a little bit, but I think that's the thing is it's Superman in the boys' world and still being Superman. Like, and that's kind of the thing about the character that I feel is kind of some of the most important to remember. But
yeah, man. So I have one question for you though.
Yeah.
Where does King Marvel show up? Because
somewhere
it's
in there.
Elvis in a Shazam suit.
I'm sure it's somewhere in there. It's probably in one of the Lady Marvel is in there too. I'm sure at some point in time, or it might say there that it was just a sketch he never used. Some of those are there.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if it's there, you can go back and look through everything and find it. They have a list of it all.
This here's what it says. It says that Elvis was such a big fan of Captain Marvel, that's what influenced those white suits he wore on stage.
Really?
Yeah, that's crazy.
See, there you go.
Huh. Yeah, it says inspired the stage costumes worn in the King's later years. The joke here is to have adult Freddie Freeman absorb some of that design back as filtered through Presley. Thus, it appears that King Marvel is an Elvis impersonator superhero.
Oh, Freddie Freeman is Billy Batson's
friend.
It's his friend. I guess
right.
in the new movies, it's kind of don't they live together too?
Yeah, they're all
foster brother,
whatever. Yeah, and he's on crutches.
Yeah, but so there you go.
That's kind of cool though. I didn't know that about Elvis.
Yeah, there you go. Learn something
pretty
new.
Awesome.
So there you go. Kingdom Come Part 2 coming up next week. It's tax day, so we have something special next week. We have two things. We have a tax day spectacular, which isn't going to be. It's going to be funny,
but it's
going to be short. But we also have something I'm really excited about. We have an interview with Reed Tucker,
Yeah,
who wrote the book Slugfest about the 50-year war
Yeah.
between DC and Marvel, and that was a fantastic interview.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Oh, great guy.
I mean, like as soon as we were done with the interview, he sent us an email thanking
did.
us.
Oh,
I mean, it
so
was just
nice.
amazing. Yeah.
The fact, like, I knew I was going to embarrass myself, but I had to when I
you
talked
did
to
not.
somebody. Well, no, but when I talk to somebody who like has written somebody or done something that I appreciate a lot,
Yeah.
I like to make sure that I can let them know when I have them on. And so I did when I was there, and he was very appreciative of that too, and it just
He was
made my day
excellent.
just from
Yeah,
that. But
he was excellent.
so we'll have an interview coming up next week there too. But until then, make sure you check out all the other podcasts on the Rogue Media Network family of stations.
RogueMediaNetwork.com.
And until next time, stay safe, everybody.
Golly Con, everybody. Golly Con.
Pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.